Welcome to the Optimizing Beyond podcast. I'm Josh Negron, and this show's all about sharing lessons, ideas, and strategies that sharpen your thinking, strengthen your habits, and push you to grow beyond comfort zones. Let's dive in. We live in a strange time. We're overstimulated, underslept, and under-recovered. The spare time we once have had decades ago that might have been consumed by TV are now gobbled up by screen time, arguably even worse. We're pounding caffeine to keep pushing through, scrolling to distract from a stress or anxiety problem, and weekend warriors in short bursts when things reach critical. It's no wonder we feel like we're in a hamster wheel. Here's the truth I wish someone had told me sooner. Energy isn't created, it's managed. Of course, that's a law of physics we all learned in grade school, but I've come to understand that this applies to so many other areas as well. Daily vitality isn't a mystery. It's disciplined stewardship over 4 pillars in a simple hierarchy. The first one is sleep. It's the master regulator and it is the foundation of the health pyramid. The next one is the circadian rhythm, which is timing, light, and consistency. The third one is inputs. What's your food, movement, and even audio-visual consumption that affects your energy? And last, recovery, the rhythms that refill what you spend. When you honor the body God entrusted to you, it gives you back clarity, strength, and focus. When you don't, it politely sends you invoices like fatigue, anxiety, brain fog, injury risk, and irritability, and so much more. Today, we'll explore methods and strategies you can implement one at a time, no matter where you find yourself. We'll talk stories, science, and practical application. Today's goal is to give you some things you can implement as soon as today and start stacking when you see progress. We know our bodies will treat us as well as we treat them, so let's explore some ways we can leverage that for our benefit. Let's get into it. As a serial optimizer and recovering perfectionist, I've tried many things over the years. With just fuel, as an example, I've tried many crazy diets like vegan, carnivore, keto, gluten-free, all for specific purposes and goals in mind. I was trying to learn what fuel and routines actually made me feel clear and steady. For diet, specifically, sadly, it's no one size fits all, which is extremely frustrating. What makes one person feel like $1 million might make another person feel sluggish and worthless. When I went plant based for a year, it was perhaps the most disruptive, difficult diet I've ever done. But it did not have the positive effect on me that it has on some, and that's why I stopped doing it. But I did keep the habit of incorporating more plants into my diet and some of those lessons I learned along the way. I would say I eat more balanced now more than ever. Through these kinds of things, I discovered 2 things. One, inputs change outputs. Your body is like a high performing machine. Cheap fuel and random timing equals unpredictable energy and performance. Number 2 is daily rhythm beats heroics. I love layering growth and tweaking one thing at a time. Of course, I want it all now, just like everyone else. But I realized early on that the all or nothing approach to life changes is often not sustainable. It feels productive in the moment until the inevitable crash comes. What actually works is small, repeatable upgrades that compound over time. Anytime someone asks me for nutrition advice, for example, they always get annoyed when my suggestions steer them away from declarative statements like, I'm going to give up sweets for a year, or for good, even. I believe that instead, small, sustainable habits beat massive overhauls and declarative statements every time. Today, I want to take you through my lived practice, coupled with helpful research while still keeping the tone simple. We're not just after today, but to help you win tomorrow too. Because health isn't something you can hustle to, it's finding rhythm, harmony, and rest. Good luck hustling your way to that. So, I want to cover some common misconceptions and myths that I hear a lot around this topic. The first one is that discipline limits freedom. I used to believe that too. In reality, I believe that discipline and established habits expand freedom. When things like sleep and meals become rhythm and pre decided, you actually free up mental bandwidth for your actual life. Freedom is the byproduct of accumulated discipline. Discipline doesn't have to be a cage. It's a friction removal that allows you to stick to your commitments more because you're already decided instead of leaving it up to the moment. Moments that, let's face it, are usually laced with more weakness and less resolve. Here's another myth: I sleep 8 hours and still feel tired. Well, first off, great job. You're already ahead of most people. But I want to say two things. One, not everyone needs 8 hours. We'll talk more about that later. And number two, regularity, timing, and quality. They matter a lot too. Is 8 hours normal for you? If not, it's like trying to work out for 4 hours in one day instead of spreading it out throughout the week. We all know which one's going to produce results. So why would sleep be any different? You can't do terribly all week and expect 1 to 2 days of 8+ hour sleep sessions to make it all right. I tried to do this in the past, trust me, and it didn't work. And lastly, quality matters too. How's your sleep hygiene? Are you getting morning light? Do you have a cool room? Is it dim the last hour? Is your phone down an hour before bed? No TV in the bedroom? Do you have a wind down sequence? A few weeks of practices like this usually changes the feeling of those 8 hours. Another myth is that blue light blocking doesn't work. Statistics will show anything to prove your point, yet I believe that context matters. Morning versus evening split is basically the point. You don't have to be a cave person at 6 p.m., just dim the lights or turn on ones that are warmer over the last hour. That's a heavy hitter consistently over time. Some people might say, well, the all or nothing approach motivates me. Well, yeah, short term for sure. Long term, I've seen it crash and burn too many times, even with high performers. It's the best way to burn out something good you've got going. Try to use that fiery motivation to change just a few things, then start layering one habit at a time for keeps. What I love about this approach is the snowball effect. It creates confidence as you start to see increasing compound changes. Another one I've heard is that faith and fitness don't mix. Now, this one's rare, but I've heard it. Some people are concerned about vanity and pride, especially with fitness. Now, clearly, I disagree. An investment in your health is a version of stewardship, and stewardship is both spiritual and biological. Caring for your body is part of caring for the things you're responsible for in this world. When you honor this, I believe you compound clarity, peace, and purpose. So let's start where you need. So let's start with the foundation. Sleep is first, it is the master regulator. We've already let the cat out of the bag a little bit, which is the massive importance of sleep. If you only change one thing, let it be this: let it be sleep. I'll be honest, this is one of the things that I dialed in much more recently than so many of my other habits. Sleep should be the foundation that makes the grind possible. But oftentimes, sadly, it's the last thing people tackle. This hit me hard in three different ways over the last 5 years, and fundamentally, they transformed my view on sleep. The first one was I was pushing my wake up time earlier and earlier to continue beefing up my awesome morning routines. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, I just kept pushing my wake up time earlier and earlier. At some point, I noticed cognitive decline. Things like consistent foggy mind, irritability, wild mood swings, increased anxiety, and more. It felt like I was on the edge and I didn't want to fall off. The only thing I had changed was decreasing my sleep. The beefed up morning routine was not worth the sleep sacrifice. The second time was when a dear friend, Trey Frisbee, critiqued me on how well I had so many areas of my life in line, and yet sleep and even hydration, two massive pillars of health, undisputedly so, were such low priorities for me. That challenge hit me hard and got me focusing on these habits even more. And finally, the last one was one of my mentors, superhuman Danelle Delgado, had a dear friend start to help her get her fitness and health in line. His approach was much different than mine, and he knew what an epic hustler she was, and that she would likely crush her body into powder if he didn't pave this path correctly. He made some rules around sleep that really got me thinking. He said, if you want to work and work out, On the same day, you have to sleep at least 8 hours the night before. Okay. And if she only slept 7 hours, she only gets to do one. She has to choose between working or working out. And then lastly, if she gets 6 hours or less, she can't do either. Now, if you commit to that, that'll make you shift fast. This was the final step in reframing sleep in my mind forever. Sleep is what allows all other things to be possible. Now, sleep does so much, we don't have time to discuss. But some of the major highlights that I want to talk about is firstly, hormones and mood. Now, listen up, men considering TRT. I'm middle aged, I'm nearing my 40s, and TRT is all the rage of the conversation of anyone even over 25 right now. Sleep quality quietly tunes your hormone panel, the stuff that affects stress tolerance, appetite, willpower, confidence, and patience. If your testosterone is low and your sleep is garbage, just think about that for just 5 minutes. I was able to double my testosterone with just getting my sleep in line, and that blew my mind. Number two is cognition. Attention, memory, decision quality all rise and fall with sleep quality more than most people realize, like I said earlier. And number three, training and recovery. You don't get stronger in the gym, you get stronger when you recover from the gym. Sleep is the runway to do that, fundamentally. When I used to steal sleep for early workouts with 5 or 6 hours of sleep, I thought I was being disciplined. But the ROI was backwards: more body breakdown, less gains, and more plateaus. What changed everything was a boring move: adding 30 minutes of time in bed and protecting that hour before bedtime. Now, notice I said time in bed, not time asleep. Remember, we want to control what we can control. Time in bed is the number one metric you can control. So I committed to adding 30 minutes at a time for 6 month periods. Once my daily average was 30 minutes higher for several months at a time, I added another 30 minutes. I didn't overhaul my life. I just insisted on small, progressive increases every few months until my baseline felt stable. My labs improved, mood stabilized, energy evened out, and I started feeling better in many ways, and even my performance in the gym improved. Now, that wasn't without struggles. Like I said before, everyone is different. I know healthy people that don't need very many hours of sleep. My wife, for example, her Whoop and Aura Ring both tell her that she doesn't need much beyond 6 or 6.5 hours of sleep. Whereas the same devices tell me I need 8 to 9 hours of sleep, especially depending on how hard I push myself in the gym. And I push myself hard often. This caused some difficulty because when I'm needing to go to sleep, she's not even tired and she doesn't have to go to bed. But we worked hard to find a rhythm that can work daily for both of us. So think of your bedtime as a boundary with the future. You're not just going to bed, you're preparing for tomorrow the way you set out clothes for the night before. It's the most generous thing you can do for your future self. Aim first at consistency, like the same sleep window most nights. Make it feel good, switch to warm light in the last couple hours, dim the lights, reduce digital inputs that spike your brain, and create an anchor. Things like configuring your phone to turn on DND after a set time, maybe the phone's parked in the kitchen after a certain time, lamps only after another time, or a good wind down process like a shower, stretch, prayer, meditation, and then sleep. But Josh, I use my phone as an alarm. Okay, I know this comes up a lot, but many of you already have wearables you can use as alarms. And if you don't, well, alarm clocks are super cheap nowadays, so you'll be fine. Don't get hung up on perfect techniques. Just change something in a proven way you can execute it. Let's take blue light, for example. People love to talk about what's best: glasses, phone settings, or special apps. It's less about the specific how and more about timing and intensity and ensuring you can execute daily. Morning bright light, late evening dim lights. There's so many ways you can explore how to do those things. Remember, you can always change or add more when you progress. Here's some way you can practice tonight. Pick one or two of the items mentioned in this section to commit to in the next 7 nights. For example, schedule your sleep window like 10 to 6, commit to parking your phone an hour before bed, switch to dim lighting 60 minutes before you go to bed, using an eye mask or listening to white noise, That's it. Commit and ship it for a week. Now, as far as timing and recovery, we've all got a 24-hour internal clock that likes predictability. Picture two teammates: cortisol, which is daytime engagement, and melatonin, nighttime recovery. When we pass the baton cleanly, energy feels steady and clean. When they collide, energy feels scratchy and anxious. So here's some simple timing rules. In the morning, it benefits you to get some good outdoor lighting. Even 5 to 10 minutes helps. Move a little and hydrate. In the afternoon, if you train hard, plan a good protein heavy meal with some carbs a few hours after training. And then in the evening, dim those lights, lower stimulation. Land your day with a wind down instead of a scroll down. And then temperature plays a role as well. A slightly cooler room for sleep with a repeatable wind down sequence, like we talked about earlier with shower, stretching, journal, praying, and lights out. If you go all gas, no breaks for a week, your body will schedule a recovery day by force. You'll get sick or just run out of gas. We've all been there. It's so frustrating. It feels like your body is betraying you, but remember, we betrayed it first. So it's better to plan it and own it. We can talk for hours on things that can negatively hurt sleep, but one that I eliminated years ago was alcohol. I started noticing that my sleep quality was horrible after just one small drink with dinner, and I thought to myself, I'm working so hard to get my sleep in line, and then just one drink that costs money on top of that is wrecking my progress. I'm out. And I just never looked back. Not telling you this has to be you, but this is just one small example of changes that I made in my life. It could just be that I'm getting older and less cool. Another practical application you can do with all this in mind, here's one thing you can try. Pick 2 nights this week to be your gold standard evenings for a great wind down routine. Things like we talked. Things like warm lights, light stretching, journaling, praying, and then lights out. Set reminders on your phone or your calendar and then see how it goes. All right, we've covered sleep and timing. Now let's wrap up with inputs like food and movement and recovery. Food is fuel, not entertainment. But modern fuel does not help with disciplined commitments to health. Most commercial food is optimized for profit and palatability, not your health or steady energy. If you ride the processed food roller coaster all day, you will get spikes and crashes over time. Your health will likely decline in the process. If you anchor meals to protein, fiber, color, like fruits and veggies, you'll get stable energy and better decision quality later. Some easy ways to do this are defaults beat decisions. So have a go to breakfast or a go to lunch that are boringly dependable. This is me. I'm okay having the same repeatable meal. My wife is not, but that helps me stay consistent. Picking a protein anchor, adding 2 colors of produce, and then some fiber. If you're into using AI, you can prompt it. What are some ideas? Give me some variabilities. And then you can have that variability too if you're like my wife. Another one is plan to snack intentionally. This is what gets so many people. If you know you're a snacker, pick protein forward or fruit forward snacks. Plan for it and stay in control. And then hydration. Front load earlier in the day and then taper at night. Your kidneys actually respond to hormones that slow down their function as the day winds down. Otherwise, you'll be going to the bathroom 7 times in the evening. So, to help with that daily rhythm, front loading hydration is a good idea for so many reasons. As always, the goal isn't perfection, it's to be predictably steady. I know, how boring. And that applies to movement as well. I love suggesting people to find their movement. I'm a fan of finding movement you enjoy to get the habit going. Once established, then you can seek out challenges to make you stronger and shore up your weaknesses for future health, especially in fitness. If you're not into movement at all, start with walking the dog or a game that's fun, like pickleball or disc golf, to get you out and moving. And as you get those established, start working in things like resistance training and different types of cardio. So when you're ready to add that in, resistance training can be 2 to 4 times a week. And honestly, longevity experts say the largest predictor of longevity is muscle mass. We're not talking bodybuilder stuff here. Keep it simple: push, pull, hinge, squat, and carry to keep muscle mass up and work on your longevity. Next would be layering in low intensity cardio that you could hold a conversation during. A lot of people call this zone two. You can target this 5 to 7 days a week. Think 30 to 60 minutes, like a brisk walk, very light jog, biking, things like that. This builds your cardiovascular system significantly over time. And then finally, high intensity or variable cardio. This is things like what I do in CrossFit, and you can target 2 to 4 times a week. This pretty much always sucks, but has so many physical benefits as well as psychological benefits. So, with things like this, we're going for the long game. Think that we're playing a season, not a single game. So, find where you're at and start layering in things to make you better. So, with that in mind, pick one or two of the things we discussed to execute this week. So, in this section, you can write one default meal you'll eat 4 times this week. For me, breakfast is the easiest, but lunch can be a close second. Maybe it's deciding 2 training sessions this week or planning a non negotiable walk. Or maybe join a local pickleball group on Facebook and find out when their free playtime is. Then put it on the calendar. Here's a pro tip: community definitely helps, especially if you're the first starting out with these health habits. Tell a friend, have them join you, or find a way to have them help you. As we wrap up, I want to cover a practical playbook with 7 plays to help you start. In the description of this episode, you'll find 7 ways to turn ideas into energy. Feel free to swap anything in or out, and remember to keep it low friction and repeatable. You can always adjust later. Number 1 is pick your pillar and set your window. Choose one pillar: sleep, nutrition, movement, recovery, to schedule in your calendar this week, like scheduling your sleep window, pre planning meals for the week, or reminders for wind down cues. Number 2 is aiming to increase your time in bed by 30 minutes, for example. Add those 30 minutes, don't overthink it, park your phone out of the bedroom, and give it a whirl. And if you want, add a 5 to 10 minute wind down, like with a light stretch, prayer, journal, gratitude, and then lights out. Number 3 is getting morning light and taking a walk. 5 to 10 minutes of outdoor light earlier in the day, and then shoot for those 20 to 30 minutes of zone 2 walking. Number 4 is planning your meals and having protein anchors. Eat a planned meal this week, for example, a protein with 2 colors and fiber without debating it. And also, hydrate earlier in the day so you're not chugging late. Number 5 is strength you can repeat. Find a fun movement activity to start this week. A simple full body, like pushing, pulling, hinging, squatting, or carrying. It can be a single activity, like a machine in the gym, or a fun activity, like the ones we talked about earlier, or some good resistance training. And then don't forget to post session fuel within a few hours with a good protein and carbs. Number 6 is target 2 gold standard evenings. Like we said earlier, choose 2 nights this week for warm light, stretching, prayer, journaling, and lights out on time, and protect those like meetings with your future self. And number 7, gratitude fuel. Try practicing gratitude before bed. Write 10 things you're grateful for that day. And lastly, the bonus when life happens rule. When your day gets wrecked, and it will happen, hit your minimum viable habit you committed to. If that means a 10-minute walk or parking your phone for at least 30 minutes of the day, don't fold and give up. Keep pushing to change one small thing. So let's zoom out. The reason people burn out on health isn't lack of information, it's lack of action, usually because there's so many options. If you see yourself as someone who's consistently catching up, you'll just choose catch up behaviors. But if you change your mindset to being a steward of your energy, your choices can begin to change. We're looking to transform discipline into devotion, not deprivation. It's no longer punishment, it's protection for what matters most. And it's your systems that automate the basics, like sleep window, default meals, movement anchors, and so on. Your decision fatigue drops, your confidence rises, and paradoxically, you actually feel freer. That's the discipline freedom loop. Now, you're going to have obstacles, and we need to work together to anticipate them. So you're going to hit speed bumps. So let's plan for them now. What if you have a late night event? Keep the sleep window as close as you can and protect the next night like gold. Remember what James Clear says: never miss twice. What if you're traveling? Anchor your morning light and a walk. Focus on protein and a good color option without overthinking it. What if you're feeling sore or super run down? Then drop the training intensity. Hit up zone 2, some low intensity cardio, get some light mobility done, and maybe an earlier bedtime. What about if you're hit with cravings? Try drinking water, delay 10 minutes, and then if you're still super snacky, let's pick a protein forward option. And then the I blew it spiral. So often this leads to an F it mentality of just like, well, I've already messed up, so I'm just going to keep going crazy. You didn't. You had a normal human day. So let's locate the minimum variable habit that you can do tonight and keep going. Remember, we're going for change over time, not perfection. So let's review. Energy isn't created, it's managed. So let's explore ways to put sleep first, analyze our habits by good protein anchored meals and daily movement to create steady power, recovery to protect our gains, and rhythms to beat willpower. Because we know that identity drives behavior. We're a steward of our energy. Remember to review the show notes in the description to review ideas that you can try today to tackle things like sleep, evening routine, your meals, and more. Do right by your body, and it will do right by you. Thanks for listening to the Optimizing Beyond podcast. Remember, growth happens when you take action. So subscribe, share this with a friend, and most importantly, put what you learned into practice. Until next time, keep moving forward because daily anything changes everything.